The man tell me say black eyes. You don't have black eyes. Ice is transparent. See, when you get black eyes, the soil, the earth, where the earth is black and it's frozen. That's what you find when you come to England, London town. You find Black Ice TV. Black Ice TV, deep in the heart, London. Black Ice TV. What you want? TV? You want ice? You want blackness? Go up on Black Ice TV. See?
One of these, it'll all be over. It'll all be over. And we won't have to cry no more. And we won't have to cry no more.
Greetings, family. This is Black Ice TV once again. This is Terry Riggs, Mr. Riggs in the house, and my co-host may come in after. So today we are dealing with the question time today, and question time is all about should the nation be the judge by the protection it affords its women? What do you think? The women are taking charge in many things, so we're going to have people like Shaz and quite a few other women with Minister Abdul Hakim in today's question time, which will be at 12 o'clock, family. So if you want to get involved, or you want to come onto the panel, please do so. Please put into the cash app and the PayPal for Black Ice TV 7, and at the same time, make sure you press that like button, share, subscribe to the world as much as possible. So, family, how is everything? What's been happening? Please share that link once again. And if you want to come on the panel to have the discussion, as you can see the title, as I said, once again, this is question time. And this is going to have a panel of a whole heap of women discussing this topic with the Minister Abdul, the UK UNI branch, the European branch. But despite me saying so, there's been a lot of things been happening. Don't forget, on Tuesday, you have True Talk. And then don't forget, on the Black Ice TV ×2, there is many other shows that are going to be coming, just been dressing back to create more new shows and more information for the general public. So please share this, because the show will be starting at 12 o'clock and then we will have our questions and answers. But before we do so, please make sure you press that like button. So I want to play a quick advert for you.
My name is Lyndon Wissard, author of the book The Inspired Diabetic. I reversed my type 2 diabetes in 105 days naturally. In my book, I'll tell you exactly how I done it, the journey, and my story. No sugarcoating. I provide a recipe for success. Visit my website, theinspireddiabetic.com, and visit all good bookshops to get a copy today.
Ah, boy, you know, if you've got that diabetic, make sure you check it up. You know, if you've got sugar, less sugar, or you got more sugar, make sure you check yourself. As you know, we're in this pandemic, as we can say. Make sure you look after your health, because your health is your wealth. So before we even go into certain things, I'm going to play another advert, because I want people to go into the archives, because we have over 400 and something videos and a lot of information over the years. And Black Eyes TV has been for the people, by the people. So check them out. Oh man, as you know, today is the big question time today. So, have you heard today about the video that's been circulating about people have to go to the home office to check themselves before they can travel, and they have to have some discrepancy to explaining why they need to travel. Boy, you know, I have to wonder about that. Why do I have to explain myself for me to go from one country to another country? Don't you think that's a bit crazy? But, you know, at the same time, they're asking people that they should do this, and this starts from the 29th of March. And have you put your clocks 1 hour forward? Because, you know, it's now going into that hot sun. Are we going to stay indoors? Are we going to go outside and protest? Because it is going to get warm in the next few days, which they said it's going to go up to 22. But besides that, as you know, we've got the question time today, and we've got to able to engage, get involved, you know. And if you do want to come on the panel, I will be putting the link in the chat room. But please press that what they call it? Press that like button as soon as possible, so that we can get more people coming in, more views and more notifications. The more you're pressing that like, the more notifications we shall get. But at the same time, as I always say, please donate to the Black Eyes TV 7 as much as possible, so we can able to grow and get as big as we can, because we are for the people, by the people. So please, please, please press that like button and able to donate, so that we can get more equipment, more facilities, and even able to build our studio. So we are always asking for that help. And as you know, we're building on new stuff and new things coming along. We have the on the Black Eyes TV ×2 later on this afternoon. We have the women and the International Sister Circle, and they're going to be talking about the beauty business and school, which is a fantastic place to go to and able to get a better understanding with our women. But that's the women's discussion. And you know what, like I always like to put up one for 1 minute, is that we have to listen to the vibrations, the music, and in that form of love, like this.
I want can live, a family can live together. I want, you know, togetherness.
And the people want the love.
Yeah.
They want to feel love.
You know, want to know, say, like culture music.
So how the man really see music as a form of message?
Yeah, as a form of message. I father work I do. you know. So I follow work I do still, you know, down to the people, why I see what I wanna happen, you know. And I know so that not right, but if I even go out and tell them still, you know, enough things would happen. So I will have just it inspire through.
Yes, you know where the love is. Where is the love at? Why aren't we using them? Why aren't we applying the love amongst ourselves? Why aren't we unifying in forms of love? Because, you know, it's funny how when we listen to music nowadays and the love has kind of gone and we're not engaging in forms of love thy neighbor. But I was just going through as they call it, the YouTube streets, and I come up across a beautiful song from on one of our sisters, who's called Sister Nine, and she put up a video which I've got to quickly play, which I'm gonna play because it just touched me because we're at the end of the Women's Month, which is this March. You know, it's something that I can say, you know what, this is a tune to play. I've got to play it, you know, and let the people get to hear about it. But don't forget, we've got 15 minutes before we have the show. If you like to come on the panel, please do so. So I'm gonna play this Sister Nine's song. Hold on, that she put up. It's an old school song with our new artists at the moment, you know. So it just creates a massive impact, and you know, in us celebrating our women, as this is the last day of celebrations. But we're supposed to celebrate it every day. Matter of fact, you know, it's not about just one day, but celebrating our women on a regular basis, as well as celebrating the men for their achievements as well. So I'm gonna play this video, you know, and tell me what you think.
It's the color of my skin. That is the life that I live. I am so proud to be the color that God made me. I just gotta say, that is my color. Yeah, yeah. Couldn't be any other. Oh, no, no, no. I said black is my color. Yeah, 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 yeah. Couldn't be any other. No, 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 no. It's the color of my eyes, and I've got no reason to disguise.
Sorry about that, family. We just had a bit of a technical problem, but I'm going to replay that song before we come back. So the sound is back. I hope you can hear me once again. I'm going to ask you to press that like button once again, and let's redo this video once more time, just to give a reflection before we go into the situation of our show today. So now then, I am back. I hope you can hear me once again. You know, sometimes these technicals, and just tell me if you can hear the music with a thumbs up. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Na, 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 na. Black is the color of my skin. Black is the life that I live. And I am so proud to be the color that God made me. I just gotta say, black is my color. Yeah, yeah. Couldn't be any other. Oh, no, no, no. I said black is my color. Yeah, 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 yeah. Couldn't be any other. No, 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 no. It's the color of my eyes, and I've got no reason to disguise. I can still find in me for all of the words to say. That I just got to say, black is my color. Couldn't be any other. Black is my color. Couldn't be any other. Oh no. In me for all of the world to see, and I just got to say, black is my color. Yeah, couldn't be any other. Oh no, black is my color. Couldn't be any other. For the woman of this world, all the little girls, sisters of this world, the mothers of this world, for the woman in this world, all the little girls, the sisters of the world, the mothers of this world. For all to see. Oh, no, I'm
Ah, boy, I hope you enjoyed that. As we are waiting on the NOI to get ready to doing their thing, where the question time will start. But if you feel like you want to come into the conversation on Black Eyes TV, I will put the link so that you can able to come on the panel and have your thoughts after the show. I will put the link. The link is in the chat. So or you go to the description and you would able to jump on the panel and able to have the discussion with me, and probably my co-host will be coming on as well, so please do so. But press that like button as we are waiting for the NOI to come in. So in me saying so, later on Black Eyes TV ×2, we have the Women International Sister Circle, who will be discussing beauty business and the beauty school. So I'll play a little advert.
My name is Safina and I'm from Sitting Pretty Academy.
And she made history as a campaigner when she was able to shut down the racist human zoo exhibit. So please welcome our great sister Sara. Please give her a virtual round of applause. How you doing, Sara?
Hi everyone, I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the discussion that we're going to have.
Thank you, thank you. We're honored to have you. Our next panelist is Sister Maxine Mohammed. She is a long-standing member of the Nation of Islam since 1993. She has contributed in helping to establish the Nation of Islam here in the UK. Sister Maxine has served as a student captain of the MGT. She has also assisted in delivering the teachings of the Nation of Islam in the ministries. Sister Maxine also works in the field of domestic violence, coordinating various agencies in their response to protect high-risk victims and survivors of domestic abuse. So please welcome our dear and hard-working Sister Maxine Mohammed. Please give her a virtual round of applause. How are you doing, Sister Maxine?
I am doing very well, thank you, Brother Hakeem, and I want to thank Brother Abdul Hakeem, excuse me, for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful panel and this very, very crucial and important subject matter. So I'm excited to hear from my sisters and be a part of the discussion.
Well, you know, we couldn't do this without you, sister.
You know that's right.
Our next panelist is Sister Alison Morgan, who is one of our most successful criminal defense lawyers within the UK. She has a brilliant and great record of wins in the judicial system in fighting against injustice and helping our young people. She's also a community advocate and is a deputy director of the Black Child Agenda. Please welcome our great fighter against injustice, Sister Alison Morgan. How you doing, sister?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's an honor to have you. It's an honor to have you. Our next panelist is Sister Sylvina. She's an educator, community organizer, and has made history. I'm going to say this again. Has made history. You hear what I'm saying? She has made history as being the first female to hold the senior post of student protocol director for the whole of Europe. She's a history maker. That's who we've got for you today. Vina, how you doing, Vina?
I'm good, brother. Thank you, thank you. Glad to be a part of this powerful circle of sisters today. You know, let's take on this topic and do it some justice.
Thank you, sister. And our last panelist will be joining us in the second hour because she's a reverend and she's delivering her regular Sunday sermon to her church. So as soon as she's finished, she'll be jumping online and joining us. And that's Reverend Alison Johnson. She's a community, political, and spiritual leader. She's an author and educational consultant. Sister Reverend Alison also works passionately for a positive impact of change for all communities. So please give her a spiritual virtual round of applause and send that positive vibe for the sister while she's delivering her Sunday sermon, and she'll be joining us soon. I'm going to hand over with no further ado to our main host of today, and that's Student Minister Abdul Hakim Mohammed, who is the European Regional Representative of the Honourable Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, who works tirelessly in resurrecting the minds and spirits of our people and all oppressed people throughout Europe. Please welcome your brother, my brother, our brother, Student Minister Abdul Hakim Mohammed. Please give him.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And warm welcoming to all of you, irrespective of your time zone and location. We welcome you to our regular community question time. As discussed and mentioned, this topic that we will tackle this morning is probably one of the most important topics that anybody can raise or anybody can discuss or debate, because it's a subject matter that not only should we discuss it and debate it, we have to move towards legislating the outcomes of it in the best interest of our women and our girls and our society as a whole. When I looked at really one of the key words in our theme today, which is the protection, you know, how the society is judged based upon the way how they protect or afford protection to the female. Well, we have Sister Alison on the, Alison Morgan, who is a legal person, a lawyer, barrister, probably QC very soon, no doubt, Sister Alison. You know, that word protection, you'll be fine. The word protection really is a legal term. So when I look at some of the definitions of the word protection, or to be protected, it is to preserve from harm, especially by means of formal or legal measures. So we're talking about legislation here. So whenever women are not protected in a particular society, it means those who are responsible for governing the society have not prioritized the legal rights of a woman. And when you have to legislate for the mother of your society to be protected, it really shows how far some of these societies have gone to hell. It really does. Because this should be natural, and it isn't. So let's look at another definition for protection and to be protected. It is to be covered by legislation, controlling the collection or development, i.e. you have protected species, right? And this is the kind of bracket we're dealing with. We're dealing with, you know, like you have nowadays, you know, you can't even kill or poison foxes nowadays because they are protected species. And when I look at some of the rights of animals, it seems as if animals and other life forms and species have greater protection than the human being. And it's clear that the way how government legislate, that they have missed out the protection of the female. So we want to discuss that today. If the problem is that dire, that even government will not properly legislate. And you know, sometimes we have women in positions of high authority, and they don't even use their position to ensure that other women, you know, can also rise, and that women and girls are exalted to a position that justifies the nature in which they are created. So I want to ask you, as a sort of like a prelude to the meat and the heart of the discussion that we're going to have today. My first question to you is, what does it mean to you as individuals, the protection of women? What does the protection of women mean to you based upon where we are currently and where we should be if we call ourselves civilized members of society? I'll start with yourself, Sister Maxine.
I think you, in your introduction, Brother Abdul Hakim, you cited a lot of the reasons why it is important for this issue to be looked at. And as a female, and feeling the pain and the hurt of many of our sisters who, and many women in general, actually, all over the world, who have been victims of violence and abuse, then that affinity, you know, being a female and understanding the importance of the role of the female, particularly for this time, you know, because we see a mighty change taking place around the world, and the level of dissatisfaction among women, you know, whose voices are crying out for justice, then this speaks to the fact that women haven't been protected. There is a need for women, the voices of women, to be heard and listened to, you know, not just heard, but listened to, so that the pains and the abuse that women have suffered can be properly addressed. So, you know, we're taught that the world is in the condition that it is in because of the misuse and the mistreatment of women. And the protection, as you said, you know, the laws of life and the law of God requires naturally for a woman to be protected. And as you said, it's a shame that now, you know, it has to be legislated. And I know the UK government is looking at this new domestic abuse bill, you know, where they've had to look at specifically greater protection for women, you know, who are victims of abuse. So for me as a female, it's at my core, you know, in terms of why, you know, the importance of addressing this subject so that women all over the world can feel safer in the environments that we are in.
Fantastic. Thank you for setting us off. Sister Sara, how are you viewing, or what does it mean to you, the protection of women and girls?
I think the legislations are a long time coming. I think, you know, I've been involved in women's services since about 2000, early 2000s, and these are things that we have been campaigning for, because when we look at sexual violence and domestic violence, these are gender-based crimes. Rape is used as a weapon of war. The things that women are subjected to in terms of sexual violence, stoning, honor crime, FGM, all the, you know, the list is endless. So I think that women have the right to feel safe online. They have the right to feel safe in public, and they have the right to feel safe within their homes. And without sounding too feministicy and stuff like that, I want to put it in context that we live in a society today, especially within the West, that subjugates its women to a harsh treatment and a harsh reality where the woman is lesser than the man, and the woman is a commodity, and the woman is a property, and the woman is something to be owned. And it's moved away from traditional values where the woman is the mother of creation, and she's highly exalted. And so I think that it is definitely needed, it is definitely warranted, and it's not about a sort of gender war battle against women and men. It's not saying that women are special and we need this. It's basic human rights.
They are, right? Like if all of us have a mother, you know, and none of us would be here if it wasn't for our mothers carrying us. Obviously, we wouldn't be here if our fathers didn't plant the seed. However, the seed in and of itself, without fertile ground, then could never develop to show forth its potential. So women are special. And if women are special, then how have we got to the stage now where not only are we wake up, if you will, why is this not natural and innate for us to protect our mothers, our women, and our girls, as men particularly?
I think it's because of the way society's gone. And you see, I always say this thing about the treatment of women. It's not a race thing. This happens in every single society and every race.
Right.
The treatment of women, especially in terms of gender-based violence, domestic violence, sexual harassment, rape, child abuse. This happens in every race, and it's because there's a sense of lawlessness, there's a lack of spirituality, it's learned behavior, it's patriarchalism, it's all of those things. And so then we end up with Sarah Everard. You know, it's a culmination of things. It's films, it's television, it's books, it's attitudes, it's music videos, it's songs, it's a collection of things. It's inequality. And so the woman is undervalued, she's disrespected, she's ill-treated. This is why we now need laws that say you can't sexually harass women in the street, because it's become so. And also there is a lack of accountability between men checking men, you know,
right?
A lack of accountability with men checking men in terms of the things that we do. If 1 in 3 women are a victim of domestic abuse or sexual violence, and so we all know a victim of sexual violence or rape or child molestation, how comes we don't all know rapists and child molesters?
Right.
Yeah,
it's a massive number that you raise. 1 in 3 is a massive number.
And those are the ones that come forward.
Sorry, Sister Sara, please continue.
Sorry, those are the ones that come forward. So imagine the ones that don't.
Right.
Yeah, so it's probably a lot higher.
Right. Very big number. Very big number. Thank you for that insight. Sister Alison, you deal with this not just as a community activist, you also deal with this scourge as a professional. So from your perspective, you know, what does it mean and what should it mean and what should come natural to us in regards to the protection of women and girls?
I have to give a disclaimer in terms of my professional knowledge on sexual offences, because throughout my legal career, I've chosen not to do 2 types of offences. I don't do any offences where children are the victims. I don't do child abuse, and I don't, because I defend only. And I, up until very recently, didn't do any sexual offences out of principle as well. So I didn't do rapes or anything. But there's been a change for whatever reason. So I have started to do them, I'd say, in the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm not an expert on the application of the law, but I will say this: there are laws in place. I'm talking about the UK now, where I practice. There are laws in place to protect women, and there have been for quite a while. But the issue is the application of the law. And I echo what Sara says about just wider society. See, we have the laws that are there and they're all very great, but the legislation that's there only, and maybe Brother Mohammed can be more knowledgeable on the statistics for rape convictions, but my understanding of rape convictions is that it's extremely low, something like 7%. So you go through all of that hideous situation of being raped anyway. Then you go through the process of going through the criminal process as a victim, and then you go through a trial, and then at the end of it, the man is acquitted anyway. So it's the applications of the law that's an issue for me, and it's an issue for me as a woman that has to live on a day-by-day basis, and then understanding that if I do become a victim of some kind of sexual assault, be it physical or even online or verbal or just very subtly in terms of stalking, because it's not just about physical attacks, it's things like stalking, it's revenge porn, it's you're in a relationship with a man and everything's fine and you do something silly like allow him to take pictures of you, and then when you break up he posts that. So for me, as somebody that's watching it, the laws are there but they're not being applied, and the reason why they're not being applied is because we do live in a male-dominated society. Although, for instance, in law, women have become quite dominant in law. There are many females working in law now, and there's many Black women working in law. But if the laws are being applied ultimately by people who are not educated how to respect women, then the laws are not going to be applied, and the women are not going to be afforded any protection in law. So the laws are there, and that Sara Everard has been killed. And now there's talk about protecting us on the street. But how do you protect people on the street when the men are coming from within the house, and from within the house, they haven't been educated. And then they're coming from within the house of different cultural values on women. Because we can sit here and talk about women's rights all over the world. Us as women in Britain, we do have rights. For instance, employment law. You have to work somewhere for 2 years before you have any real employment rights. But if you want to sue your boss based on sexual harassment, you could do it after working there for a week. So there are laws in place. We've got the new Serious Crime Act 2015, Section 76, coercive and controlling and bullying behaviour. You don't have to be raped by your husband at home. You don't have to be beaten by your husband at home physically. Just your husband having control over you and dictating how you dress, where you go, who you speak to. There's protections for women with that. But if the wider society is run by men, then it's not going to be applied. And then so although the protection's there, it's no protection at all. So that's the issue I find that we have within the UK. But if you compare our situation as women in the UK compared to our situation with women in other parts of the world, we're grand, aren't we? We're great. We're well protected. So it's the grassroots of it is educating men. But controversially, and it's not appropriate now to talk about it, but I hope it comes up later on in the conversation. For me, controversially, we need to start re-educating our women as well, because we're putting a lot of it on men. And what are you going to do and how are you going to apply it? So we need to educate ourselves as well. I think we need more discussion about it before I just launch into this slightly controversial topic.
And as you said, and as you said to me earlier, you're a lawyer and you need no excuse to talk. So let me let me cuss in here, because what you have introduced are so many different elements that we have to cover today in order for this discussion to be fruitful. So I thank you for covering all of those areas in which you cover, because we can't just educate or re-educate men if we don't re-educate the woman herself. Because all of those men who are miseducated or have a skewed understanding about women, they all have a mother, all of them. And you know, traditionally, men have always taken on the view and the color of their mothers and the strong women in their household or in their community and in their society. So we're going to get to where is the voices of the strong women in the community gone. because there is clearly a dearth of strong activist women who are willing to challenge the society to ensure that the balance is returned, because we're so far out of kilter at the moment. We're going to need strong women and strong men to bring society back to an even keel. So thank you for that opening, Sister Alison. I look forward to circling back to you to hear your views on some of these other points. So lastly, on this particular opening question, Sister Sylvina, what's your thinking, or what does it mean to you, the protection of women and the protection of girls? What does it mean to you?
To me, Reverend, ultimately, protection translates into liberation, into liberating the woman. When the woman is protected, she's free to express her gifts, her talent. She's free to explore whatever avenues in life she wants to explore. And protection, obviously, exists on two levels in terms of the physical protection, but protection of the mind is a whole other area that really comes first. And I feel as though, that's my answer. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me just fast forward and ask you some real meaty questions, yeah? So, Sister Maxine, what can women actually do to protect themselves? Let's start there. Let's take the man out the equation, and even other women who actually have made a lifestyle out of disrespecting themselves and promoting the disrespect of women, because you have many female advocates of the reducing of the value of the female. Because once the value system of a thing has been changed, then you look at that thing differently, right? Whatever you would have regard for, if the value system has been reduced, then you no longer look at it the way how you previously did. What can women do to evolve and elevate the value of women so that it becomes incumbent upon all and sundry to actually take up the responsibility to ensure that women are respected and protected in every society?
Yes, the value of women is like...
Come forward a bit.
The value of women, how do we and what do we use to actually measure our value? I think we have to start there, because society gives us a measure, or the rulers of this world have given a measure to the value of women. And as sisters have said earlier, the way that we have been shaped and formed in this world gives rise to the way that some women actually value themselves and devalue themselves, really, and contribute to the view that men in the society have of women as a whole. So there's a whole attitude shift that needs to take place, and the criteria of value, the criteria, the basis upon which we have been given this life, and human expression, and the guidelines, to actually get the best out of, or the best self out of oneself, to contribute to the advancement of the human family. So as you mentioned, with the female, if we do not reevaluate ourselves based upon the criteria that God had for us in the very beginning, in the quote unquote religious world, you have, as Sister Sara mentioned earlier, there's been a teaching, that has reduced the woman, to being created from the rib of a man, so that teaching, and the teaching that has permeated throughout the white supremacy, let's say, you know, the rulers of this world, the interpretation, the misinterpretation, you know, of the female, you know, that teaching has been prevalent on the earth, you know, through the ruling systems that we are governed by, you know, and attitudes have been shaped by that. So that needs to be re-looked at, you know, and needs to be done, well, not just re-looked at, it needs to be done away with, you know, and we need to have a new measure, you know, based upon what the creator of life intended for us from the very beginning. So I think that answers your question. I'm not sure if I addressed everything.
It does, definitely answers an aspect of it, because what I want to drill down a bit deeper with is Sister Sara. I'm going to circle back, Sister Maxine. What I wanted to drill down to is my mother never asked anybody to respect her. She demanded it. And you would pay a heavy price if you disrespected her, whether you were female or male. My mum never took stuff from women, she never took stuff from men, and she certainly didn't take any nonsense from children. So, but what I find today is that kind of strength is no longer in existence. We've become people who ask for permission to do that which should come natural to us. Because again, we're speaking about the government's laws and their policies and their procedures and their protocols, where we knew how to run a home. We were the ones who taught these people, you know, law and legislation and this level of civility that they, you know, enjoy. So talk to me about what you as a woman can do to contribute to bringing the level of protection and regard for women to a level that really is reasonable, if not more than that. How can we get to a reasonable level by what you can do?
Can I say something?
I'm going to come back to you, Sister Alison, particularly when you're jumping at the bit. I'm going to let you stew for a minute. And I'm going to go to Sister Sara.
Don't let me stew too long, because it gets worse.
No, not at all.
The more I have to think, the more consultation I get.
Don't worry, I won't be long. I won't be long.
I want to come back to you when your fire is that is most intense.
Okay.
So, Sister Sara, what can you do? What should women be doing on a daily basis?
Okay. I think language is really important, and I think there's like two paths here. Women cannot protect themselves from abusers, because abusers abuse. Okay, that's just what they do. So, you know, we can take
from the abuse.
Okay, so if so there was nothing that Sarah Everard could have done in terms of walking home at night, protecting herself from being kidnapped and murdered. There wasn't anything that she could do about that. Little girls cannot do very much about a grown man sexually abusing them. They are victims, okay? And when we say, well, it's almost like what we're saying, well, what can victims do to protect themselves? I think what we can do is we can take safety steps, right? We can make sure that, you know, if we're out, we stick with a crowd. We can do general things like that. I think in terms of what can women do, it goes back to that whole thing when we go back to the statistics of women being like 1 in 3, because women have been abused and been subjected to abuse, they're going to experience trauma, right? And that trauma without any form of therapy is just going to manifest, and then it's going to manifest into dysfunction. So then what we have is women making terrible choices, okay? Terrible relationship choices. I'm going to be a bit careful here, having their vulnerabilities taken advantage of and finding themselves in very precarious situations. In my field, we'll say risky behavior, engaging in risky behavior. And so, you know, I'm an advocate for choice. I'm an advocate for women being empowered. I've worked with a lot of women in the sex industry, which is a very dangerous industry, right?
And one of the oldest industries.
One of the oldest industries, okay, because it's supply and demand, isn't it? And I'm not saying that women are totally without accountability and responsibility for some of the situations. And we see it online. A woman's in a particular place and people go, well, why did she go there? She knew that that place was rough. But just because she knew that that place was rough didn't mean she wanted to get raped, you know? So I think it's about, when we're looking at safety measures, what safety tips can women put in place to make...
I say this, Sara, I say this, even as men have to be careful what environments they go in, even with other men, because I've known of men who have, strong men, heterosexual men who have been raped by other men. So if men are getting raped, then it even falls back on us as men. We have to be careful where we can end up. You understand? Or where we go because of what can actually take place. So I want to just get some practical responses in regards
to simple things like, you know, walking on a well-lit street, carrying mace. No, I didn't really say that. You know, walking on a well-lit street.
Carrying what? Mace?
I didn't say that. Walking on a well-lit street, staying in a crowd, not taking drinks from strangers, you know. I could go down the whole list, not going out after 9 o'clock. But what if the abuse is in your home? How do you stay safe within your home with your children? You know, that's why a lot of women stay in abusive relationships, because when they leave, the abuse gets worse and they're more at risk of being murdered, you know? So this is what I'm trying to say. It's very difficult to keep yourself safe from abuse because you don't know when it's happening. I could go out today, I could be attacked. I don't know it's going to happen. I could be walking on a well-lit street. There could be CCTV cameras around. So I think safety.
I've seen your Charlene moves, so you know, don't even bring that to me that you could get attacked. Because Charlene Sara will kick in, right?
Don't throw hands anymore.
And someone will wish they weren't born. Okay, I'm going to circle back. Sister Alison, what can women do practically to help to stem the tide of this level of misuse?
I echo what Sara has said with all the practical functions you can put in place to protect yourself as a woman. But for me personally, how I protect myself as a woman is with an extreme level of confidence. Now, I know that's not easy for everyone to deploy because not everyone's character is the same. But I'm a physically strong woman. I'm physically big, I'm tall, I'm strong. I know how to fight. I've been trained to fight. I do Krav Maga. I used to cage fight. So there's lots of things that I've done as a woman to protect myself because I've been in vulnerable positions. I've twice almost been raped. I've almost been murdered. Some guy tried to strangle me, you know, who was apparently getting on his nerves. But so what I've done, that was me as a young woman. So me as an older woman, I'm well protected. I'm protected mentally because I'm intelligent, and I'm protected practically because I'm smart, and I don't put myself in vulnerable positions. But if I've done all of that and then I'm still find myself a potential victim, then I'm physically strong because I can physically protect myself. And although I'm a big girl, I can't protect myself against every man, but I'm going to go down fighting. So that's for me what I do for myself personally. Now, I'm 50, I don't have children, but I always had this fantasy that if I had a daughter, and this is something that I tell a lot of my female friends and my friends with girl children, be they male or female parents, I've got this fantasy that all women knows how to fight. And it's something as simple as that, because we can talk about our laws, and we can talk about dressing in an appropriate way, and we can talk about taking preventative steps. But if you're in that situation, because these situations will always arise, no matter how wonderful the country, no matter how wonderful the legislation, no matter how wonderful the community ethos is, and how much respect there is for women. Women are going to find themselves in vulnerable positions. So I think that going forward as a community, and we're all here, our main focus is the Black community. I think something that Black parents need to do, and it's so vital now, is to teach their children how to physically take care of themselves, because we all know that there's an extreme rise in the far right. And I, in the course of my work, have had cause to come cross paths with the far right. And one of the things I noticed that the far right are doing is they're training their children how to fight, physically fight. You know, the film Terminator, Sarah Connor, we've got that going on in Eastern Europe. We've got that going on in Britain. And Black parents aren't doing that. So that's something we need to do. And sticking to topic about protecting women, Black parents from this day forward should make a commitment that it's not just about, oh, giving extra piano lessons, that's great. Giving extra Spanish lessons or whatever language they think their child needs, although we all know we should be learning Mandarin and Cantonese. But one of the things that should be, you teach your child how to brush its teeth, you teach your child how to keep itself clean, you tell your child to go to school. We need to be teaching our children, men, but particularly women, how to physically protect themselves. It might not be at the end of it, you can beat up a man, because I can't beat up a man. I can protect myself from a man with basic practical moves. A man trying to rape me isn't going to get there. A man trying to kill me isn't going to get there. A man trying to stab me, no matter how big he is, I know how to disarm someone with a knife. I know how to disarm someone with a gun. So I think going forward, we do a lot of talking. We have lots of meetings and conferences online. So my practical advice is learn to fight. Women need to learn to fight. They need to do Krav Maga. They need to do MMA. They need to do martial arts. They need to do basic self-defense. And that should be, as you tell your child, go to school, you tell your child, have you practiced your Krav Maga today? Have you done this? So that's the practical thing.
And I love the way how I made you stew, because it brought that out. And that was so essential, because this is what
so essential. If I had a daughter, she would be like, honest to God, she would be beautiful and elegant and refined, but she would be so tough. She'd be able to really kick some ass, because I can fight a man. So I think women, we need to, no matter how dainty we want to be, no matter how dainty and ladylike we want to be, because I'm very ladylike. I go to court, you know, I'm a lady, I'm elegant. I model myself from 40s and 50s styles of clothing. So I like looking like a woman. I'm not a tomboy, but I know how to fight. So that's a practical thing. And I think that is something that, yeah, that's a good, no, just do it. Learn to fight. All of us women here sitting here, Sara obviously knows how to fight based on what you said, but Sister Maxine and Sylvina, if you can't fight, you need to enroll. So that's
don't even
we're taught how to fight, sister. We're taught how to fight.
That's right, absolutely. That's, of course you are. I know you are.
Definitely part of our training.
It's funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that, Sister Alison, because I was speaking to Sylvina last night about today and some other things. She assisted me in many areas. And I was saying to her last night, I was about to jump on and watch this Dillian White fight, and
oh yeah,
whatever his name was. And she said, "Oh, I love boxing too." So I told her,
love it.
I'll send you the link.
Love it. Love the MMA.
All of that to say, Sylvina, talk to me. You know, thank you for that, Sister Alison. You really opened it up. Talk to me. Like, what can women do to protect themselves? Because as Sister Alison said, you know, she may go to work as a lawyer, being very, you know, feminine and whatever the case may be, and very articulate, very eloquent. But if you come at her the wrong way, she knows how to smash your face in. Mm-hmm. She knows how to break your arm. Mm-hmm. She knows how to escape those who have bad intentions for her, which is key, because every man should want to know that if he's not there physically, where his woman is concerned, where his children are concerned, that they'll give a good account for themselves. So what can women do, you know, to help themselves? Because God helps those who help themselves, right? Not God helps those who sit down and pray. When you're under attack, it's the wrong time for prayer. Right? It's the wrong time.
Right.
It's time to show up and to throw down, right? So talk to me, because I mentioned about my mother. My mother had disputes. She'll load up with bottles and go out. You know, if I pass she used to call it a nest. She used to say, you passed your nest. You know, I remember one day I came in the house and never said hello or good evening, just stepped past her. And I went up to my room, and as I'm coming down the stairs, she called me. And as I'm coming down the stairs, she's standing at the bottom like a soldier. But she had a machete in her hand. Not a knife or a fork, a machete. And as I came down, she took it, turned, and put it to my throat and said, "We would charge for you, no boy." And that was the end of that. Her vibe was no disrespect in my house. I don't care who you are. She never waited for my dad to come home. She never reported me to my dad. There was so much issues that she dealt with herself. Today, what are women doing? Like, are women complicit with some of this disrespect? What can women do to shed some of the backlog of disrespect and abuse? Talk to me.
I would say, brother, you know, it is about, and some of the sisters mentioned already, about placing value on ourselves. And that takes on many dimensions. It takes on what you said, Alison, in terms of, you know, being able to physically protect yourself. And we have to make sure when we're placing value, it's not just, you know, grasping at things. It's actually being able to say, yes, I have the ability to do this, that, and the other. And the value that we place on us and ourselves, it will really feed into the precautions and the measures that we take in order to protect ourselves. So when we're talking about, for example, learning to fight, because we are valued, you know, in the nation of Islam, we are taught and are continuously being taught to value ourselves. Learning how to fight, as you say, even though we are creating a culture and a nation whereby the value of the woman is utmost, we haven't said, okay, well, we're safe amongst all the brothers, so we're cool. We have to learn how to fight, because we never know where danger is going to come from. So I would say, you know, embracing a culture, establishing a culture amongst your kinfolk, you know, sisters. Sara is my sister, you are my sister, Alison. You know, women have to embrace a culture whereby they ascribe to all aspects of it. There are certain aspects of culture that are just going to be universal. You know, the value in terms of how we are treated by other people, as you said, Brother Abdul Hakim. Your mother never waited, you know, to be offered respect. She claimed it. So if we have a level of financial independence, and as you said, I want to make the disclaimer, we're not talking about men versus women here. We're talking about having options and expression. There is no problem having a man who's a provider, a husband who's a provider, or you have your own income stream too. That's how it should be, because we're not.
I remember, Sylvia,
yeah.
as you're speaking, and you take me back to another conversation I had with my mother when she told me she first met my father. She was walking on a street in Kingston, and he must have called to her. And her response was, "Move and go where dirty boy, who you think you're talking to?" He's calling her in a nice way. And she called him a dirty boy. Who do you think you're talking to? Which meant, don't call me from across no street. Right. If you want to engage me, you better come in front of me with some respect. But she ran him. Right. And as a result of setting parameters from day one, you're dirty and you're a boy. Do you understand? Don't call me. So he had to fix up and come another way. And with him fixing up and coming another way, she laid down her marker. Do you understand? So I say that to say, how much of that is not taking place today, where we're laying down markers from day one? Do you understand? Because for me, if I'm looking at, say, somebody who's abusive and somebody who's prone to violent conduct, then there are ways of stress testing a person to see what their inclinations are. And once you see certain traits and certain inclinations, then the responsibility is on the individual to ensure that they make decisions that protect themselves and children that they may bear. And if they see these types of characteristics in a male and don't do their due diligence, then it can lead to the state or the type of society in which we are living in today. So I go back to my question: what can women do to protect themselves, not just in the immediate term, but in the long term? Do you understand that they would protect children that they will potentially have for a person? And if that person shows traits of abuse, then to have children for such a person is to compound the problem, right? So what can women do to protect themselves? I can see you're chomping at the bit, Sister Alison, so I'm going to let you stew a little longer. So,
Lord. I'm really chomping more.
So, Sister Sara,
Yeah,
what can women do to protect themselves?
I mean,
Part
yeah,
two.
we can fight. However, in a situation,
We've covered those. We've covered those.
Yeah,
Everything
no,
that we've covered, I want to go
situation,
now. I want to take it up.
In a situation where you're being attacked, okay, we have responses, don't we? And the number one response is freeze. You just, you know, kind of like let it happen. I think that in terms of what we
I think going back to Alison's point, she was speaking about a level of martial arts or a level of conditioning, wherein you know naturally if somebody attacks you, if you're not trained, you will freeze. So because you know that is anticlimactic, then you're trained not to freeze. So going back to preempting what is already, because remember, these things have been taking place for a long time. So these are not new problems that we're talking about, abuse, misuse, it's not new. These are old problems. And if we're born in a world that is shaped and molded like this, it's literally it's a way of life in this country. This is what this nation has been built upon, is slavery, murder, pillage, rape, abuse, misuse in every level. So it's not a revelation that this is the kind of environment in which we live. We know where we live. We know we live in a very rough place. So therefore, from day one, we have to now be equipped with the tools in order to survive. So what are some of the practical tools we should be teaching ourselves or being trained and conditioned with on a daily basis?
There needs to be, okay, a practical tool is we need women, mothers, girlfriends, parents of sons need to teach them not to rape, not to beat, and not to molest women and girls. That's what we need to do. We need to educate.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I'm going to go to yourself, Sister Max, and I'm going to come to you, Sister Alison. I've seen young women like kind of laugh at their sons kissing little girls at nursery at 5, at 6. It's something entertaining for some women. Oh, well, at least he's not gay. At least he's not gay. So isn't that some kind of initiation into a lifestyle that is a bit, that just leads to an abusive kind of child? So what can we do, Sister Maxine? Practical.
Yeah, as you were speaking about, our parentage, particularly coming from the Caribbean and, other places, because I know my mother, she was a strong Black woman, strong. And when, as a teenager growing up, when I used to want to go out, my mother would question me in terms of where I was going. who I was going with. And my father, on occasion, used to escort me and my friends to where we were going. So even, you know, that some of the practices in terms of protecting, you know, the female and our children within the family, you know, that has been put by the wayside, where we don't guard, you know, properly guard where our children are going to. And one of the things that came to mind as well when you were speaking is that, you know, as women, we have to recognize that we are in Satan's world. We have to recognize that we are among devils. We are among, you know, humanity has been so devalued, you know, and human beings have become so aberrated, you know, and other than self, that if we do not recognize this, then as Sister Sarah said, we put ourselves into risky situations. You know, the question that is asked about how, you know, should nations be judged by the level of protection that is given to a female? When you look at the word judgment, it means to make a decision, a considered decision, and come to a sensible conclusion. So when you consider the time that we are in, you know, when you consider the level of violence that is in the community, when you consider, you know, the level of substance misuse, the level of mental health, the level of paranoia and psychotic behavior that we see among the human family, then you come to a judgment, you come to a decision, you know, and you protect yourself against that, you know. So as Sister said, you know, it first starts in the mind. You have to have a strength of mind, you know, to properly assess, you know, what environment we are going into. You know, there's this science called situational awareness, you know, a military science called situational awareness. So if we're not aware of the environment that we are in, then we put ourselves at risk, you know. So prevention is not to put ourselves in environments where there is potentially a risk. Prevention is to create environments for ourselves where we can, and this is what we do in the nation, you know, we don't we don't send our sisters out into, even though we enjoy music, we enjoy dancing, we enjoy socializing, but we control that environment. And our brothers are there to protect us. And that goes for not just us, but this is the systems that we must build. You know, these are the institutions that we are engaged in as members of the Nation of Islam, so that the environments that we go into are safe for our women, our children, our men, you know, safe for everybody.
Right. So the men have to take responsibility for the security of the environment in which their women and girls are going into. Because I remember as a young man myself, I would take all of my children to school. My daughters weren't allowed to walk the street. You know, you drop your wife off, you pick her back up. This is how we are taught. So this protects us, or protects our women when we have meetings. We don't have a meeting and women are allowed to leave at night and just walk. As men, we drop them home. So this is what we can do. It's within our ability to so do. But I'm going to go, thank you for that, Sister Maxine. So I'm going to go back to yourself, Sister Sara, and I'm going to come to you, Sister Alison, because you didn't finish your point. I did cut you off.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that we have to remember that these are complex issues, right? So if we're talking about homes and things like that, one of the things I did when I was an IDVA, we used to do safety plans for women in terms of keeping themselves, I don't like the term keeping themselves safe, but, you know, in terms of making sure that they were safe at home, and if they were exiting that relationship, safety steps that they needed to take. That's why we have refuges that are confidential and nobody knows where they are and nobody knows that they're refugees. That is the level of risk. The level of risks when we have a marriage because women are at risk of domestic violence, homicide. So the agencies provide a level of protection, because this woman, unfortunately, because there's an abusive person there, unable to keep herself safe, because they're going to stalk her, they're going to harass her, they're going to hunt her down, and eventually they're going to murder her. During the lockdown, the rise in domestic violence increased. It increased. And then we're talking about the invisible victims, the children that are being sexually abused, you know. So we have to understand those things. I went to a park event a couple of years ago and I wrote quite a long Facebook status about it. Now, my thing was towards mothers. Why are you letting your 12? I don't like to see young children, girls, 9, 10, some as young as in crop tops. Why do we need to see your child's midriff? I don't understand. Why are you putting your little child in shorts? You know, they're not on the beach. They're not playing in water. They're going to a park event in the middle of Handsworth. What's wrong with you? You know, and teaching their daughters to look a lot older than they actually are. All right. So we know it's big man that's going to be attracted to those young girls. So mothers, yeah, let your daughters be daughters. Let your little girls be little girls. They don't need to be jigging up themselves and twerking, and all of this is just basic stuff. And, you know, I will get dragged for this.
Is it so basic? Because people challenge, once we open up, people will challenge the hell out of those points that you just made.
Yeah, they will. Okay? They will. I've been dragged for it. So
therefore, if we've moved away so thoroughly from basic fundamentals, then it seems as if we've entered into a place where the human being needs to be retaught practically everything.
Totally. The problem is, though, when we look at those mothers, right, we'll see that there is dysfunction, there's trauma.
Sara, are they mothers or are they surrogates?
Well, that's debatable. I'm not trying to.
Because a mother, hold on a minute. A mother is a nurturer of life, okay, and keeping that life in accordance with its nature so that it can be itself. If we're molding and shaping that which has been carried to be other than self, that's not mothering. That's just preparing.
I use the term mother loosely. Then, but what I'm saying,
you did. I'm saying what I'm saying for the audience, because you're giving credit to women who have born children, but are really molding them and shaping them to be abused and misused and disrespected. And that's not mothering. So therefore, so many of us are having children without proper planning and don't know what to do with them when they arrive here.
I kind of say that all the time. People get with people, they don't use protection, they have children, the father doesn't like how the mother's raising the children. We don't live in a nuclear family anymore where there's usually two parents, there's some influence from the elders, we have a strong religious community. You know, a lot of the homes that we have at the moment are broken. And one of the key things that we're not teaching children, especially girls, is resilience. Okay, so we're not teaching them resilience. We're not teaching them how to have situational awareness. We're not teaching them that, you know what, you're a little bit ripe, sis, you're a little bit plump. Let's not be wearing batting riders to the park. You know, we're not teaching them these things because that's body shaming, right?
Right.
We're teaching girls to be quite salacious with I have a friend, yeah, her daughter just turned 13, and the I couldn't believe that the mother was posting these pictures on her WhatsApp of her. They were just, I can't even speak to her, because to me, it's like, why would you pimp your daughter out that? We have a lot of women that are trying to reclaim their childhood and their sexiness through their female daughters. And that is categorically wrong. You know, we need to teach our children about sex. We need to teach our children about healthy sex and stop letting Pornhub teach them. Okay, I can feel myself getting really passionate now.
Yeah, so let me take the mic from you.
Okay, take the mic, bro. Take the mic.
Let me take the mic. And I'm going to hand it to the legal professional. So, Sister Alison, talk to me. I'm going to come to you, Sister Sylvia. Talk to me, like, what can we do from a more possibly deeper spiritual perspective to protect ourselves, or for women to protect themselves, and for men to also be given strong guidelines on how to protect their women and their girls?
I'm going to do a number of disclaimers before I get into it. Law has nothing to do with what I'm about to say next. I'm not a pick-me girl. I agree with everything that's been said. I agree with everything that's been said. But I'm really going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons now. And I'm going to say, Brother Abdul Hakim, I disagree with what you said earlier. I disagree with your mum.
I disagree with what I'm saying.
I'm going to be so controversial. I'm going to disagree with your mum. Although your mum was not wrong, she was right.
Talking about my mum. Talking about my mum.
That's why I said I'm brave. I'm in my house. You can't. Right? Yeah, I'm going to be controversial. I'm going to throw a cat amongst those pigeons. I agree with everything that Sara said, and about dress and about sexualization and all of that. But there's a number of things, and there's someone here, I'm going to pick up part of what they said. I think it's Akila 6 puts a comment, and there's a line in there that said, because the signals are confusing and sexual discipline is slack. We've talked this to death. We talked about clothes, music, how we've got to deal with our daughters, how we've got to deal with our sons. But my question is to women. Women, what is it exactly that we want? Because we don't know what we want, and that's what I've worked out. We don't know what we want, and we don't understand feminism. And us as Black women have not realized that feminism is a construct invented by white women, because their men are obsessed with the fact that their penises are extremely small, sorry to my white friends, and they're obsessed with money and violence. So they had to invent feminism to protect themselves as women. I don't think feminism applies to me as a Black woman. A branch of feminism applies to me as a Black woman, but it doesn't, the feminist movement doesn't apply to me. Now, my controversy is this. What do women want? We don't know what we want. Now, the reason why I was so brave and bold and controversial to say I disagree with your mum, we all applauded and nodded and agreed, and there's comments here saying your mum was right and she set standards. When that man approached her and she said, move, dirty boy, go and fix up yourself. Think that, yes, but we are now in 2021 and it is chaos. Sexual politics amongst Black people is chaos. Why am I an extremely beautiful, I'm going to say it, intelligent woman, very successful, and I'm single? Why are so many of my friends extremely beautiful and single? The chaos amongst sexual politics as adults is a mess. So how do we expect it to be sorted out amongst these children? When they have a problem that we don't have, they have social media. And as Sara says, 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds have access to Pornhub. They've got a warped sense of relationships. They've got a warped sense of sex. They've got a warped sense of even how we protect our body. You know, things like the debate, do we wax, do we not wax? You know, are we waxing because we want to look like the porno girls and sexy? Or do we keep the hair? And I'm going to be vulgar, do we keep the hair because that's what's good for us as Black women? So the whole thing is a mess. Now, me as a woman, I love men. Now, I prefer, if you give me a choice of sitting in a room full of women or a room full of men, I'm always going to pick the room full of women because I love women. I'm a fan of women, okay? But as a woman who's a fan of women, but a woman who's also a huge fan of men and takes responsibility for all the messed up things I've done to men in the past, all the men I've slagged off and called waste man and said they were no good and they were bastards and they were sick. When I spent many years talking about how useless and how horrible and how terrible a man has treated me, what I forgot to do was acknowledge my role in the demise of that relationship. And if we talk about sexual politics and what is such a mess on this date in 2021, the 28th of March, part of the mess is how we as women respond and treat our men. And we know as Black women, our Black men, we have it hard as Black women. At the moment, there's a lot of topic about us as Black women, how we're responded to and treated because of Meghan Markle. I'm not interested in her. She chose to marry into those Nazis. That's your problem, chick. But she has raised a debate amongst white people, long overdue, which they've kind of brushed under the carpet about how we're treated as Black women. And we're treated appallingly, as we know, and that's a whole different subject. But us as Black women, in the smallest space amount of time we've got now, my buzzwords for how we treat Black men is we are constantly talking about Black men need to treat us with respect and they need to do this and the music is slack and they sexualize us and they do that. We do it to ourselves, and even I do it to myself sometimes because I make out I'm some big top intelligent lawyer and you will respect me and don't muck around with me. But sometimes I act like an idiot and I'm 50. So what my controversy is this: we as women, and what this person said here, that because the signals are confusing, we don't know what we want. We are sending out confusing signals. And coming back to what I said about your mum, I would have said what your mum said 20 years ago. But if a Black man hails me in the street now, there are many factors to that man hailing me in the street. And even though he's done it wrong and inappropriately, because he don't know I'm not some degger girl, you know, I'm a solicitor. You're going to approach me nicely by me sending me over a glass of champagne. You're not going to go, yow. Some man assisted me the other day, and I started laughing. I went, he goes, why not? I said, because I find that hilarious. No one's done that to me for years. Now, if you knew me, darling, you wouldn't think about doing that. And what we do, we complain about men and say we want this, and this, and then we send out confusing signals. We don't know what we want. Now, your mother, what I would suggest now, rather than say to him,
anyway, it's the fourth time you mentioned mum.
Oh, I'm not going to mention, just women generally. Rather than say, move from me, dirty boy. No, I'm going to talk over you a bit. I just want to finish that point. Rather than say, move from me, why can't we talk to the man nicely? Why can't we? Because we don't know what he's going through as a Black man.
Alison, principally speaking, the principle was this, that she was setting a standard.
Yes, but there's ways.
Hold on a minute. And bear this in mind, this was in Kingston, Jamaica, probably in the 40s, right?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. But people agree with your mum today. We can't agree with your mum today. I'm sorry. I understand the context because I've done it myself. My mum done it.
Hold on a minute.
It's 2021. We can't handle our Black men the same way we did years ago and then expect them to handle us differently today.
Mr. Allison. The principle is, if you're in Kingston, Jamaica, and you're in Tivoli Gardens by Coronation Market, there is a certain culture that affects everybody in that environment. It's not the same culture of Brixton. It's not. I
spend a lot of time in Jamaica.
It's not the same culture. So by way of the culture was, I'm going to speak to you in a language in which you understand. And the language that man understood was the language of that environment. And the language of that environment is and was, you will never in this life disrespect me and call me from across the street.
I understand your point. I understand your point. I get what you're saying. But how is it going to change then? How's it going to change? Because I spend a lot of time in Jamaica.
No, you forced me to do that. Now, I've always got some tricks up my sleeve. You could be a lawyer a little more. The power's with me today. This is my house, damn it. So hear me, Alison, because you will hear me. And as you've gone to court and watched so many people be put in jail, I've just put you in prison. And I'm the only one who can let you out. So listen, the principle of what I'm saying is, my mother then went on to choose that same man to be her husband. and is the father of 7 of her children. 7. She has 7 children, and they've been together. My dad's 90 in January. He's 90 in January, you know, and none of us as children from that union that started with Goue Dotty Boy. I saw it start. But look how it ended. It ended with 7 children, okay? And none of us, Alison, none of us have had to use your services because none of us have been to prison. So the criteria in which she used to sift out, because remember, that was science, what she did. And if my dad had responded and said, well, go ahead, and he started cursing her, then there was nothing going on. So she wanted to see what his tolerance level was. And he never cursed her. He never run her down or tried to abuse her from day one. He was tolerant and decided to come another way. So she was a scientist to see what was in him. Because sometimes you've got to provoke an argument with someone to see whether they're quick to violence. And if you don't provoke the argument before you're committed, then you will find out that that person has a violent streak after you start arguing when you've got 2 or 3 children, which is a little too late. So all of that to say, that's the scientific rationale why I actually mentioned that point. So I'm going to keep you in prison for a little while longer. And Sister Sylvina, please, you've been very patient.
Thank you, brother. The conversation's moved on since my last point, so I'm going to meet you where we are now in terms of, you know, setting the standard, and situational awareness has been mentioned. So when we're talking about, and I'm not by any means, you know, diminishing whatever any woman is or has been through, but in terms of the screening process, you know, in terms of, like you said, Alison, you know, what do we want? So establishing what you want, then you can then go through that screening process and take the time to look at the signs, to get to know somebody, you know, before it gets physical, because once it gets physical, everything gets clouded. And all them little things that he did or said you're overlooking, you know? So all these types of things need to be not only applied by us in the here and now, but enculturated into our children so that, you know, it becomes a natural thing. Even in terms of, you know, the abuse that is rampant, and you're quite right, Sister Sara, you know, you can't spot one. If they're going to abuse, they're going to be opportunists. However, you know, there are things that we can put in place in terms of, you know, not just trusting somebody because they're a family member, you know, not allowing sleepovers for the sake of it's your family or your friend, or you know, them kind of things, you know, we are, again, some people have it naturally, some people don't need to be taught this, but some people do, you know, so having a culture or a system in place whereby these things are shared with mothers to be, mothers that these things, safety measures and preemptive measures can be put into place as a part of a culture. These things are passed down, has a lot to do with what women can do to protect themselves on many different levels.
Thank you very much, Sister Sara. And then I'm going to bring in, I see Reverend Alison Johnson has joined us, and I hope you've been obviously following Sister Alison. So I'm going to bring you in as soon as I complete this last comment from Sister Sara. Sister Sara.
Okay, yeah. One of the things that I wanted to pick up on, I don't agree with everything Sister Alison said, but I agree with some points. I think that
I'll put her back in prison.
No, I don't want to go into prison. Okay, so mainstream feminism, which we see today, is problem. And I'm a feminist. I'm talking about the protection of women, especially Black women, in a society where our intersections are has been hijacked. I'm not going to go down that road. I think the thing about women not knowing what they want is very, very, very true, because we've never been taught to know what we want, right? The generation that your parents came from and the generation that we're in now, it's you know, like you said, your dad's nearly 90. It's so much has happened in that time. And I think, I'm going to say this, drag me if you want, but a lot of Black women today, we've got caught up in mainstream hype. We want to look like Kim Kardashian, who wants to look racially ambiguous. We want to be like Cardi B, but we don't recognize that's a job. You know, behind the scenes, she's probably not even like that. So a lot of things have been confusing. And when I'm teaching consent in schools to, say, year 9 boys, they say it's confusing, okay? Because we teach women, you can do absolutely anything that you want, right? You are free to do what you want, when you want. You don't have to take any accountability. You're not at fault. You are on a pedestal. You are goddess. You are queen. You are all these things, right? Especially in the Black conscious community, this has gone to such extremes and levels, right? So coupled that, then we have all these confusing mixed signals. So it is very, very confusing. Then we have, you know, my mum's got this thing, and I've never owned a pair of white shoes in my life. My mum used to say, why are you wearing white shoes? Prostitutes wear white shoes. You're not a prostitute, don't wear white shoes, yeah? Little things like that. But yet, sex worker attire is now fashionable, right? And women are adopting that attire, not realizing sex work is a job, right? So these women are dressing in a particular way because they're advertising their wares because they're a job. We're just advertising our wares because it's fashionable now. And so the message and the image is extremely confusing. We see somebody in a music video, and the next thing, we're wearing those clothes and we can do what we want. You know, body positivity, obesity has become okay, and you can't say anything about obesity because you're body shaming. You know, slackness is embraced because it's freedom of expression. The morals and the standards are all skewed, right? And I'm not low-hanging fruit here either, right?
So therefore, we've come away from the basic standards that we need someone, it seems, to take us back because we've just confused ourselves. So
I don't.
I'm fed up of that.
I'm sorry.
You are. That's why you're going to prison in a minute.
Can I just finish? Can I be real quick? I just want to wrap it up.
Reverend,
you want us to be old fashioned, and on the one hand, you want us to be modern Black women. What do you want?
Reverend, you see, where's my guards? Reverend.
You know, I'm going to mute myself.
Where's my soldiers at? And soldiers, I don't want you to get intimidated because she says she can cage fight. Like, we got to
I'm muting myself, okay? Yeah? Let me know when you're ready for my mouth. I agree with you, Sara.
So, in fact, I'm going to say, brother Jeff. You deal with the lawyers, brother. And if you can't deal with the lawyers, I'm gonna have to go and get my QC, brother, okay? So, Sister Allison, I heard you were preaching a great sermon today at church. And I'm hoping that your sermon was predicated around what do men and boys need to do to ask themselves to be a positive change towards valuing women. That was your subject, right? I can't hear you, Allison. I can't hear you.
Now?
Better.
Yeah. You can hear me. Now, let me just say, first of all, apologies for coming late, because obviously I've come from the service, but I must say I was most terrified to see that Allison, a namesake, was just getting put in prison. I was baffled. I was like, what is happening here? So, Allison, but whatever you were saying, I salute you just because you're an Allison, and we are sisters. salute my sister. So I don't know I don't know if I'm coming in the jail cell to join you shortly, but let's see how far I can get. I haven't obviously heard it all, but can I pick up, before I get into about men, young men, and men in general, I just want to pick up a couple of points. I'll bring out a couple of points, if I may. First of all, obviously I'm female. I've also been blessed to be the mother of 4 daughters, so I know what it is to raise women in this time. And I was about to give you their ages, but in order to preserve my own age, I won't. So the reality is that they span about 4 school generations. Let's say that. Let's put it in that way. So I've seen the different challenges, you know, every school generation along, what each of those daughters has had to face. But I tell you what hasn't changed is about the principles on which I have raised them to be positive Black women, okay, and to be positive women. And it starts in the home. I'm sorry if I'm covering anything that's been said, but I've got to just talk my truth. These stories and narratives start for girls and boys in the home. It's the use, it's the kind of narratives that we use. It's if we don't challenge perceptions in the media about what it is to be, I'm going to say, a positive individual, whether male or female. It talks about the kind of language that we use when we are addressing our children. So, for example, with my daughters, you know, obviously a lot of times in Caribbean homes and some of our kind of use of words, you know, we say, oh, go girls or whatever. For my girls were young, I called them ladies. And you know why I did that? Because I wanted to set a standard in their mind of who they were, and that they were ladies. They weren't just girls or gyal. they were actually ladies. So they grew up with this within them. And where did I get that from? I got that from my stepfather, who raised me, and who always, sometimes I remember one day coming down the stairs to go out with the family. You know, it was a nice summer's day. I came down, remember this is back in the day, no tights on. And I said, hey, Dad, you know, how do I look coming down the stairs? And he said to me, but you know, if I'm no tights, you better go back upstairs. I was like, huh? But it's a hot day. What do I need? You know, I don't need tights on. I don't need tights on, but I couldn't say that to him. And this is not a man that was a jumping up and beating man. He was the mildest man, but just in the way he approached me. And I stood on the stairs for that moment thinking, the tights is going to mash up my whole outfit. But I'm looking, and all he said to me, I called him my dad, all he said to me was, young ladies don't dress like that. That was enough for me. Because he saw me as a lady, he taught me to honor myself. So I went back up the stairs and put those tights on. So I learned that I was a lady through my father and my stepfather, that they taught me a certain set of values about how ladies were meant to be treated and behaviors that we should not expect, but equally expect from men, but equally how I as a lady should behave. And I'll give another example. I remember one boyfriend, I wasn't always a reverend back in the day. Back in the day, and the doorbell went. It was Valentine's Day, and my stepfather came and said, "Hey, something's at the door for you." I was thinking something. So when I went out there, there was some red, bunch of red flowers. Good boyfriend, you know, never married him, but that's a whole nother story. So I took the flowers in and the chocolates, and there was a card, and my stepfather, who hadn't particularly liked this guy at that point, said, now he's coming up to the standard. Now he understands what he's meant to be doing for you and how he's meant to be treating, how you're meant to be treated. So my father, as I'm going to call them, because I had very positive experiences both with my biological father and my stepfather, that they lay a strong foundation, and it taught me to carry that tradition on. It's all about, so my girls know they're ladies, and if they're not behaving like that, I'm quick to remind them about the standards that ladies operate at, because when we remember who we are, then other people will fall in line in how we expect to be treated. It's about building dignity, integrity, morality, and a self-esteem. So we're not, you know, as I've said it to my daughters, I've said it to many other young ladies that I've worked with, I say it to young men. if you get two broken halves and you put them together, you're going for a whole mess. That's all you're looking for, nothing else. Somebody cannot come and heal you or add to you. You need to come in whole. You need to come in whole and join with somebody else. Or if you're going all broken, I give it that. We're all broken. We're all flawed. Okay. And that is a fact. Don't go and match up with somebody who's got the same flaws and holes as you, please. Look so they can strengthen your weaknesses and you will strengthen theirs. There is power in that, but it is the use of language. You know, when I'm going to try and wrap up, but you know, pastors always say
you're heading to prison, Alison, number 2. You're heading.
Am I okay? I don't want to go into jail. Please, just leave my sentencing out. There is a
I've never locked up a fellow reverend before, but
that's all right. Hey, sorry, Alison, I'm gonna have to jump over side. Sorry.
Wrap up your point.
There is a secret or not so secret war that is being perpetrated against women. There's subjugation, oppression, degradation of females, and there's cultural norms that are continue to hinder and confine women even to this day. And unless we come together in unity about how we actually, one, who are women and how do we prize them? And in fact, when brother, was it Akeem that, no, I can't remember, the brother that contacted me and he said, what was the title? Can a nation, what's the title? Can a nation?
It was Brother Hakeem.
Yeah, Hakeem. So can a nation rise higher? Is it then how they?
No, a nation will be judged by its treatment.
Yes, can we be judged? And I said, well, I've got a really simple talk. The answer is yes, and we should be judged about how women are treated, because we are an equal part of society, and we deserve to be honoured as such. But first, we have to honour ourselves, and then we have to honour our brother, and then things begin to heal. We as women, let me throw out a challenging word, you can't endlessly call men dogs, denigrate your brother, and then expect that he's going to raise up and respect you. It doesn't make sense. We have to declare that, and I've said even this morning in the service, if every woman who declares women dogs, men and women are created equal, that would declare women dogs as well. I declare that if we believe that we are worthy, that we have integrity, that we have self-esteem, that we will honour and respect our brother, then they will learn to honour and respect us as well. It goes hand in hand. I would love to see that some of the laws that are currently normalising patriarchal domination, that they need to change. I don't understand why here, even in the UK and globally, that women are paid, can be in the same job and earn up to 40% less than their brother. I don't understand, I heard a statistic the other day, why women over their lifetime in the same job as a man could end up with a pension £100,000 less than a man. I think totally unacceptable. I don't understand why there is luxury tax that is applied to sanitary wear when women, we are going to menstruate every month. Why on earth are we paying luxury tax when things like suntan oil doesn't have luxury tax applied to it? I challenge that. I challenge the kind of denigration of single mothers and not seeming to acknowledge that there were men that have not played their part in fathering. So they played their part in the bed, or whatever room it was in, but then when it came to playing the other part of fathering, they were nowhere to be seen, and yet they're not brought into account. And I think my last point, because I could just go on and on and on, as I'm sure you've got the gist.
We definitely know that. That is a
fact. No, just give me. I'm going to wrap up now. I want to say that we have I believe we're at a unique point in history for things like the Black Lives Matter, you know, all these intersectionalities that are taking place for women, for things that the terrible murder of Sara Everard, and the fact that it's now another intersectionality because she's been murdered by somebody that should be protecting us as a society, a police officer, a serving police officer.
Sorry.
Sorry?
Who murdered Blessing Olusogun? We're all talking about Sara Everard. You know, black woman was found dead.
I'm only bringing.
No one's talking about her.
Minister, can you put her back in?
We're gonna do it.
No, absolutely. Alison, I respect that. I absolutely respect that. And there's a whole list of names. But I just want to say, we've all got a part to play. There's women that need to stand up and acknowledge and help their sisters in the Bible, and I'm sure it's in the Quran as well. And it talks about older women should minister to and work with younger women to teach them the way to go. And I believe that also applies that women, we should be able to have honest dialogues with men and not say, you know, the amount of women I've worked with that will say, oh, it doesn't matter if I don't get married, it's fine. And that same guy will leave them, and because they have said it's fine not to get married, and when he's had enough of them and what they've got to offer, will go on and within a year or 2 years marry somebody because that woman is saying, excuse me, brother, this is my standard. Let us raise the standard as women. Let's collaborate with our men and let's get this mess sorted out. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing what you've just shared. Because of time, panelists, I'm going to have to go to my co-host, Brother Hakeem, to see if we've got any questions that we can try to answer before we conclude our proceedings today. Brother Hakeem, apologies for coming to you so late, but as you can see, I had to deal with some prison issues. I had late reverends. You know, we had so much to have to deal with. But thank God, we've had a beautiful discussion, and there's no way you can have such a discussion and do it in one part. So we're going to probably have to do part 2, 3, 4, and 5 of this particular discussion, because what you're showing me, sisters, all of you individually, is there is so much to give vent to. There's so much to discuss. And until we get it all out, then and only then can we start to properly arrange or rearrange that which is out of order to be structured in a manner in which is attractive and is appealing and actually a roadmap towards a greater tomorrow for us all. So Brother Hakeem, over to you.
Okay, am I coming through okay? Because I've been having technical issues with my sound.
Oh, you're clear as day.
Oh, brilliant, excellent. Okay, we can now engage with our panelists. So for the watching and listening audience, if you would like to put a question or a very, very brief and short statement forward, if you go to your menu, drop-down menu, if you raise your virtual hand icon, I'll be able to recognize you, unmute you, and you can put a point or question to the panel. I'm coming to you now, Sister Audrey.
Thank you, brother. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, sisters. Thank you very much for all the information that have been shared today, and also the personal experiences that you shared for us to understand deeply the different issues and everything that come out from these very important subjects. Yeah, there is just a point that I wanted to make. I don't know if it's really a question, but I'm thinking maybe one of the sisters can add on it. We've been spoken a lot about the different assaults that the women, go through and endure from the men, from different aspects of it. But we didn't really spoke much about the fact that we did, but not really deeply about the fact that the women also, the sisters with each other, should be able to respect ourselves as sisters, as women, not only individually, but I think it's very important to see even from school, when we see in primary school and college, and we can already see there is competition with each other, and there is not only competition, but this is very difficult for us as women to even find sisterhood. So I think that's why today this issue of feminism, or this issue of the women putting on the side, is also because as women, it became already very complicated from really childhood to respect our women in general when it comes to a bigger vision of what the woman is supposed to to represent.
Thank you, Sister Audrey. Sister Sara, you want to respond to that?
I want to say that I think in the 21st, in sort of like the 21st century, that unfortunately sisterhood is a little bit of a myth. There's a lot of conflict between the sisters. So you've got the high value women and the pick-me's and the low hanging fruit and the dust bunnies and the work mules and the whatever. So I think in terms of, and we got the side chicks and the wives and the girlfriends and the baby mothers, I think in terms of today's society, sisterhood is a myth, and it is something that we have to re-educate ourselves with, and we have to rebuild, because women are out. There's a lot of jealousy amongst women as well. You know, there's the light skin versus the dark skin. There's this, and social media has played a massive part into this. I think the little sister circles that we used to have back in the day, where the sisters would come together, used to find that a lot in the church and in religious communities, especially when I come down to the nation. I'm very embraced by the sisters. When I go to church, I'm embraced by the sisters. There's this community. Outside, a lot of people are godless. That's the problem. And if we're honest, right, the lack of spirituality, I'm not talking about new age love and light, sage and crystals, which I'm into, but you know, I'm not talking about that. Outside traditional monolithic established religions, there's lawlessness and amoral behavior. And until we address that we are lawless, we are amoral as a society, we can't get back to basics. And that's why there's no sisterhood, and that's why we are where we are, because people are treacherous, you know.
Okay, fantastic. Next question, Brother Hakeem.
Thank you, Sister Sara.
As well, if I could.
I'm coming to you, Sister Sandra. So you can now unmute. You can put your question forward to the panel.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So this is mainly, I think, for sisters that actually work in the field and spoke about some of the programs. So often these programs are really geared towards women, you know, so a victim of domestic abuse will have to go to a refuge, for example. There'll be work around recognizing signs of abuse. What does the panel think about work that should be done around the perpetrator of violence? Because the concern is that if there's no work done with the perpetrators, they then go on to another female who actually hasn't been through any of these programs to identify self-esteem, to raise her self-esteem in those areas. So what do the panel think about
that? Sister Maxine and Sister Alison.
That's an important part of the work that needs to be done, because as can you hear me? Okay. Yes. So you know, I think through the discussion we've all recognized that we are all victims, you know, because when you look at the word domestic abuse, you're dealing with the dome, you're dealing with the mind, you're dealing with that which has been taken away from the nature of its existence. So, you know, the rulers of this world, you know, the Satan of this world, and this is real, this is not no spook. The Bible speaks of a synagogue of Satan, and they have created systems, and people, you know, are part of this synagogue, and, you know, have ruled over and governed, you know, and educated, you know, humanity to the point where we are so depraved, you know, we're actually like beasts in human form walking on the planet. So the whole system of education, you know, the revival of the human family, the revival of us as a people needs a whole new education. So as far as perpetrators are concerned, you know, first of all, there has to be a willingness to change. There has to be that willingness to change. You know, in the domestic world, there are programs that are now focusing more on perpetrators, you know, changing their behavior, changing their attitudes towards women. So the question that you asked with regards to how we should, you know, hold our young men, you know, our sons accountable, you know, as sisters have said, this is from, you know, from the cradle. But you know, if you've got a perpetrator, you know, if there's someone that you know, it's like I've had occasion to speak to a couple, you know, and speak to the brother as well. And unless we go to the heart, the core, you know, of the nature of male and female relationships, you know, go to the root of that, you know, from an understanding of who we are, you know, that we are gods, then we will not be successful in turning around behavior. So yes, we most certainly have to deal with those who are perpetrating violence against women, you know, and if there's, you know, some people, because you can talk to people, you know, and people can listen, but will they change their behavior? You know, and if people do not change their behavior, then we have a system, we have institutions within the nation where we will remove you from the community until you change your behavior. And if you don't change your behavior, then there's no coming back for you. There's no coming back for you, because it's the preservation of the most important element in nation building is the female. You know, the most, because we produce life. We are the second self of God, you know, so an offense against women is an offense against God himself. So, you know, and the purpose for which he brought humanity into existence. So, you know, we have a very vital role to play as mothers of civilization, teaching civilization to our people. You know, a nation can rise no higher than its woman. This is what we are taught. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, protect and elevate the female. Why? Because if you do not protect her, then we will allow the enemy to come in, you know, to devalue her. So the value of the female, the value of the male, the science of relationships, the science of warfare, the science of business, the science of life itself, all of this has to be restored so that we can come to an equal balance and equilibrium so that we can move forward more perfectly.
Yes. Love it. Fantastic. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love it. So, Sister Alison, I'm going to ask you to hold your point because we've only got 10 minutes. So hold your point and we'll go to one more question and try and get as many of these in as possible.
And I think this may be Sister...
Go ahead, Brother Hakeem.
Sister Juliet, who I think this is our political sister from the Lib Dems, if I've got that correct. She also does tremendous charity work in Africa. So go ahead, Sister Juliet. You can put your point or question to the panel.
Thank you so much, first of all, to Nation of Islam and, of course, Hakeem and Abdul, and to all the organizers and to all the speakers here today. I'm always excited just listening to all the conversation, discussion, the learning, and just the whole aspect. But my quick comment is going to be, should a nation be charged by the protection it affords in its women? I want to suggest that is yes. I feel that a liberal world brings in the aspect and celebration of women around the world. The next question I think Abdul asked is, how protected do women actually feel in society? And I feel this is changing over time. And I feel that as a woman, and in my personal views, that women should be protected all the time and always. And women are always the love, let me put that, of the world. And women bring in let me be a little bit biased, women bring in the special and abundance in life. I think the next question was, what does it mean to protect women and girls? I've put my answers down there, educating girls and educating boys as well in the respect of women, investing in girls and women around the world. In some places, women are still not girls are still not being educated because of religious biasness, and men need to do their bit in the world and ensure that girls around the whole world are going to school, and investment is also being put in women. I think the next question was, what do men and boys need to ask themselves to be positive change towards valuing women? And I think that has been brought about by many speakers tonight. But I think that answer is boys and girls needs to be taught in school around the world in how to respect women and girls, and also.
And you're just, Juliet, let me just jump in here, because the whole purpose of this particular discussion is to move away from the should be's, because the should be's is something that we will be waiting for until thy kingdom comes. We have to, obviously, and the idea with the panel today and the discussion is to discuss ways and means and methods how we can, you know, implement what needs to be done, because we no longer can depend upon a society to do for us, which they have systematically and systemically failed for centuries now. So thank you for raising that. We've literally got 5 minutes by the clock. Big round of applause. Thank you for coming on, Sister Juliet. So thank you so much. We have to close, Sister Juliet. We have to close. I could afford you about a good 5 minutes. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Much appreciated. So Sister Alison, you wanted to respond to the previous question, because we're going to have to close. Reverend Alison.
Yeah, just real quick. I can just do both actually. What I was going to say in respect of that is that we've long been operating. I believe Sister Sandra raised it about talking or training perpetrators. We need to change the narrative, which keeps on asking why doesn't she leave, and start to ask the question, why doesn't he stop? And it's about, even before you get to, because everything is predicated by that mindset. Oh, she needs to leave. How does she get out? But why doesn't he stop? And way before they become perpetrators, we need to be intervening at primary school level. We know lots of homes are without fathers. I'm not even going to get into that point. We need to educate and raise awareness from primary school level of what it is to
I'm going to stop you there, Alison. I'm going to stop you. 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 Because it's not the school's job to teach boys and girls.
Hold on. No, quite agree with you, Minister. I'm saying, because remember I said originally it starts in the home, and I'm not talking about school doing it, because they won't and they don't. I'm talking about groups like yourselves, like ourselves, that the community that will go in and educate in those settings. That's what I mean. I don't believe.
And I wanted to also go back further, because I'm thinking that there's a lot of institutions that have to be set up, because the first line of defense has just totally failed, which are the parents. And I'm always of the mind of, I'm not going to raise your children for you. I'm going to impress upon you as a parent to be a parent. If you're the father of this child, my job is to teach you how to father. If you're the mother of this child, my job is to teach you how to mother. But what we keep on doing is allowing people to abdicate their responsibilities, and we take it on institutionally, and that person is then, as Sister Sandra mentioned, becomes a perpetual offender, because we have not reconnected that person with the root of their responsibilities. So I'm more of the mind, and I'm thinking where we are concerned, we have to work ourselves out of the jobs that we currently have. And if we work ourselves out of the jobs that we currently have, it means we will help people to solve their own problems as opposed to us solving it for them. And I think therein lies the challenge for us today. We're solving things it's like helping someone to cheat with their homework, right? Rather than teach them how to do it, we're actually doing their homework for them and wondering why they're not growing in intelligence. So I think we have to stop thinking that we are the solution, where we can only be the solution if we have the skill set to transfer what we know to others. Because many people I've found in my time, we can talk and we can articulate solutions, but we don't know how to practically teach them and inculcate them in others so that we can duplicate ourselves. And this is why we only have, and we look up to Jesus, we look up to Muhammad, we look up to Moses, we look up to Gandhi, we look up to great nobles, because we lack the ability to duplicate them. So we always reference them hundreds and thousands of years after they've worked, because society has done a poor job in replicating these great noble men and these great noble women. So we can go back into history and speak about all these great women that brought about a change. But what is our ability to replicate these women? You know, so I'm going to leave you with that to consider. And I want you to give me literally
getting the final point on a topic about protecting women in society.
Yes. So what I was going to say is, as a precursor, Sister Alison, is I need 60 seconds from you to close, from all of you, okay? I need a 60 seconds closing remark, because we're past our time now. And I'm going to save you, Sister Alison, till last. I want your words to be the words.
I'm going to mute myself. Because this has been quite, anyway.
Oh, I'm going to start off with you. You start the roll.
No, don't start off with me. It's fine. Let one of the other ladies speak. It's fine.
Okay. All right. I'm giving you privileges now.
I'm on license. I've got to be careful. I've got to... Go on.
Okay. So what we're going to do is close up. So Sister Sylvina, please, I want you to start us off in regards to what would you leave as a takeaway from today, and what can women start doing to take charge, to turn this wheel back in the direction from which it can start to yield positive results, and we no longer sit down, or women no longer sit down and wait for government to legislate what is in their best interest. What can women do collectively to bring about the type of society in which they can be themselves?
I would say it starts with the individual taking responsibility for getting to know themselves, becoming acquainted with the standards that they want for themselves, not only wanting the standards, but doing things that will then align them, to receive the type of treatment and the type of opportunities that they want to see manifest in their lives. I think closely linked with that, integrated with that, is getting to understand the interrelationship between male and female, and how although we have responsibility for ourselves as women, we also have a responsibility for men and vice versa. So getting to understand what a man is, what a man should be, and then understanding how we can relate with that man. It's not an overnight thing. It really is. It really is a very introspective process that's going to take, as I said before, enculturation. It has to be part of a culture. It has to be part of a learning process that we ascribe to, even if it means in the short term, not getting involved in certain things, not linking ourselves closely to locking ourselves into a relationship if we know that genuinely we don't actually know where we are, what we're doing. So enlist into a program of study, into a life course whereby you get to become acquainted with yourself. It sounds airy-fairy, but it's not. We have something that can really help you on your way with that. But in a nutshell, that's what I would say. Get to know you, get to know your majesty. Don't claim majesty that you don't deserve. You actually have to have things that you can point to say that you are the divine being that you claim to be. And then the universe will attract things to you. I'll leave it there because I went over 60 seconds, brother. I know that.
Thank you, thank you, Sister Sylvina. Thank you very much. Sister Sara, your 60 seconds of power, please.
My 60 seconds of power is that, if going back to the original question, should the nation be judged by the protection it affords its women? Most definitely, yes. And it is the responsibility of that nation, who runs that nation, who heads that nation, to ensure that the correct information, awareness, education, is put out there in the laws. Personally, I think it's really about women recognizing, and when it comes to relationships, recognizing their own trauma and getting support for that, and getting healing for that, and getting therapy for that, and also not pimping out their daughters, and fathers teaching their sons and holding them to account, brothers checking brothers. You know, I know lots of men that know men that hit women and abuse women. Check them, call them out, hold them to account. Don't let it slip under the carpet. And also just our general attitude in terms of being lawless and godless and without any recourse for any morality. I think it's important that we hold ourselves accountable for the actions and the choices and the decisions that we make. So yes, we should be able to remain safe. Yes, we should be able to live in fear, but also we need to hold ourselves accountable for when we find ourselves in precarious situations, what we can do. And also recognizing that we can perpetuate and compound the gender-based war that's going on between men and women when there doesn't have to be, and kill white feminism. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Reverend Alison, your minute of power.
Minute of power, real quick. Women, understand your inner power and commit to yourself that you will be a sister to any other woman that comes across your path. She is not your adversary or your competitor. She is your sister. To men, that they would acknowledge and honor women, regardless of whom that woman is in their life, workplace, place of study, etc., out in the public domain, and respect yourself as a man. Respect yourself. And then the last thing is, let's work together to actually create a legacy that we can be proud of, and not having to have a conversation in the next generation of the same things. Let's get real. If you want a wound or to heal, you have to first expose it to the air and see what's inside it, and then it can be healed. So I would just leave that there. Let's work on ourselves and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Alison. Thank you so much. Sister Alison Morgan.
I'm going to be quick. I adopt everything that the sisters have said before me. I agree in their last 60 seconds. Practically, women, we learn to fight. Spiritually, we need to learn to respect each other as women. But most importantly, and something that lacks a lot in these conversations, is we do need to learn to respect men as well. We're asking a lot, but we're not actually giving much back. We're telling a lot, we're dictating a lot, but we're not offering anything back. So I think that needs to be a development maybe for the next conversation. But everything that these women have said before me is powerful, and I agree with everything that they've said. I can't add further to it.
Can I just quickly just say that if anybody, I have put a note in the chat, if anybody is experiencing domestic abuse or sexual violence, then please do contact the National Domestic Helpline. It is free, and the number is 802 3333, and they'll be able to signpost you to any other agency that will be able to help you if you are experiencing, anybody in the audience is experiencing domestic or sexual abuse.
Can I add to that quickly, practically, Section 76 of the Serious Crime Act 2015, there's women who may think, oh, I don't know if I'm being abused enough. Look up that act, look up that section and see what's within there, and you may find that that man that's been terrorising you for years, you can do something about it. And just because he hasn't battered you doesn't mean you can't do something about it. So look that up, ladies.
Get some support.
Section 76, yeah.
Thank you, Sister Sara. Sister Maxine, your closing remarks, please.
What is prevalent for me throughout this discussion is education. And we have to recognize that we have been under a false teacher. So there is a scripture that's in the Bible that says, how will they know except they have a teacher? And how will they have a teacher unless he be sent? Now we have to recognize, you know, the stature and the presence of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in this day and time, not just for us as Black people, but primarily for us, but humanity as a whole. Now, there is no leader anywhere that has taught more on the value of the female than the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And when you look at, for example, the Million Man March and the effect, the impact of the call of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan to bring out nearly 2 million men, you know, to Washington to atone for their behavior and their ill treatment of themselves, their family, and their children, you know, and behind that movement were women. Women were spurring on their brothers, their husbands, their sons, their nephews, their cousins to actually be present at that gathering, you know. So the teaching, you know, we need a new educational paradigm, and that is offered to us, I humbly say, in the Nation of Islam. You know, we have institutionalized in the Nation of Islam the reformation of the male and the reformation of the female, the restoration of not just the Black family, but the human family. So I would encourage, you know, all of us, you know, to lend our ear more to the Nation of Islam and what we have to offer, you know, under the leadership of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you know, and come closer to the fact, as you said, Brother Abdul Hakim Muhammad, is that if we do not do for self, then we will suffer the circumstances, which is the fall of humanity and the fall of this world. And if we want to thrust ourselves out of the gravitational pull of this wicked enemy that has been on our planet, then we have to change the direction, you know, and look in the direction of those who are, you know, repairing in the work of building institutions, you know, that will help in the restoration of ourselves as Black people and the human family as a whole. And just finally, you know, I am in regards to what you said in terms of moving from our work position, you know, into a more independent place where we can actually build these institutions. So I'm looking forward personally to actually working with my sisters that are on this panel, you know, so that we can further, you know, the great work that is being done and be a part of it, because, you know, we have all that we need, you know, amongst ourselves. So I'm looking forward to being a part of that.
Well, thank you for those words, Sister Maxine, and thank you to all of those of you on the panel. We have enjoyed you very much this Sunday afternoon, and we take instruction from much of what you have said, and you have set a perfect standard for us to go into part 2 next week, Sunday. And
I invited back on my own community service.
Pardon me?
Am I invited back, or have I got to do community service?
You are always welcome, Sister Alice. You're a resident here.
Where do I go? Online.
You are always welcome. And we always need a good lawyer on the team.
I'm your chick for that.
Fantastic. So again, the energy is phenomenal. And when we have, you know, 5 sisters, the ilk of yourselves of the same panel, you know, it's not going to be any ordinary afternoon. So my love respect goes out to each and every one of you. And be mindful, you know, and be very clear that you're all worthy of our protection in our nation. And if ever any of you are doing anything that you need, you know, some male support, you know, you can call our offices and we would deploy some strong male support to ensure.
Can anyone fix garden panels?
Pardon me?
I need some practical support here. I'm all right, everything else. I need some garden fences fixed. So put me up. 7.
You are hooked up. Anything you need, you will be catered for, my sister. And in truth, those are the least things we can do for you. Like the least, anything you need, you're supposed to be able to reach out to my office, and I'm supposed to deploy wherever you need.
Really? Practical stuff. Electricians.
Decorating. I need some decorating and some.
Yeah, I didn't know you offered those services as well. I thought it was
I'll be calling you.
I need someone to sort out regards with that.
I'm serious. Like,
I've got 2 patios need jet washing.
I've got some things that need building. I'm not very good with the drill.
Yeah, we want some practical. We want to go back to old-fashioned basics. We want men to be the brawn.
I have to go.
And
my
that's where, it's unfortunate that we've run out of time. So what you're going to need to do is just send me an email. I won't give you my number. Just send me an email. But these are the areas in which we must cover these bases, because too much do we have Mr. Polish this, Mr. Polish that around our sisters' homes doing things that we traditionally used to do.
There are lots of black tradesmen I always use. There are actually, fun and joke aside, I've got my own. Loads.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't need.
But we've got to get back to this being standard practice, because too many of our people are drifting, in all different directions, trying this and trying that. And we definitely need to get back to basics. So the point is very important for us to be able to rely on each other, and for you to be able to reach out to your brothers, and we'll ensure that you have what you need. Again, from the audience, please give our panelists a big round of applause, a well-deserved round of applause. We thank you, we love you, and we appreciate you. And brother Hakeem, is there any more closing remarks that we need to make the listening audience aware of?
So that we would just be continuing this subject matter. Should a nation be judged by the protection it affords its women? We will be doing part 2 next week, and we will be opening up the panel to sisters that are in different parts of the world, so we can hear their perspective from the continent of Africa, the Caribbean, South America, and also in New Zealand or Australia. So please join us next week for part 2. Brother, there was just too many points that were being put forward that needs to be covered, but we can cover them for part 2. There were some very deep dive points that people wanted to put forward. What do women need to empower themselves with to be reshapers of society? Is there a difference regarding protection and treatment that white women get compared to black women? And is there an imbalance of support regarding that, that black women give to white women, but that's not reciprocated? And also a deep dive question for next week. What is the core reason and source of male hatred towards women? So we'll be getting into all of that in part 2 next week. It's just some quick thank yous to Brother Mark and Sister Charmaine, Black History Studies, Sister Debbie, Black British Parent, Global African Congress, and also Brother Richie and Brother Terry of Black Eyes TV. Thank you for your support, and please support their services, because they support us supporting you. And that's it, Brother Minister.
Fantastic. Well, again, a big round of applause to all of you. We'll be back on Thursday having more of an economic discussion about cryptocurrency and about controlling our own banking system. On Thursday, we want to discuss how to create a cryptocurrency. Everybody's jumping on board or on somebody else's bandwagon, but how can we actually create our own and create, and by extension, create an economy of our own? Okay, so we look forward to seeing you on Thursday for that discussion with some of our special guests that we will have on the panel from the United States of America, and an individual also from the United Kingdom. But we're discussing creating our own cryptocurrency on Thursday. That starts at 7 p.m. and goes on till 9 p.m. this Thursday. Please go to Eventbrite to secure your place. So with that said, have a happy Sunday, a wonderful Sunday, and a great start to your week tomorrow. Thank you. Lots of love. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Thank you.
Peace, 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 family. Hope you enjoyed it. There's going to be part 2 next week. As you know, if you want to come on for a bit and just have a little discussion over what has been said, please jump on. The link is in the chat. I will put the link once more again if you want to jump on and have your piece or have your question so that I can give that to the panel for next week. So if you want to jump, I will put the link in. As I would say later on Black Ice TV ×2, there will be the International Sister Circle at 5 o'clock. So if you're interested in that, please log in to Black Ice TV ×2. Let me see if I can get you the link. The link for the International Sister Circle will be at 5 p.m. So where the women are going to be discussing business. So please subscribe to Black Eyes TV ×2, which I will be putting in the link in the chat. So you can subscribe to the channel, Black Eyes TV ×2, our entertainment channel. And the women are going to be discussing beauty, the beauty business and the beauty school. So if you wanted to establish certain things, or you wanted your children to go to the beauty school, she will be on and she will give her all the information. They're going to be discussing that topic. That will be at 5 p.m. GMT time. So in saying that, I will play the advert once again for you to see. Hold on.
My name is Safina, and I'm from Sitting Pretty Academy.
Yes, that will be at 5 p.m. So make sure you log in. That's going to be the sisters coming together, and they're going to be discussing their beauty and all that kind of stuff and the lovely javely. And then, you know, on Tuesday, put in your diaries, back on Black Eyes TV 7, we have True Talk, where we have our day discussions on the Tuesday with the panel, open panel. And at the same time, you know, you are able to discuss with Brother Richie, and there's going to be some new shows coming up very soon, so watch out for that. And then we have our everyday open panel talks every day, 24/7 on Black Family First. It's all about the Black family and getting the Black family to come in and uniting and creating a think tank where we can discuss and able to start to begin to build. That's on Black Ice TV, representative as with the Black Family First. And that will give you anything you want to promote, advertise, adverts. if you've got shows, events, whatever it is you want to promote, that will be on that channel, so you can able to promote all your stuff. So whether you, as I said, even if it comes to the products and whatsoever, people, family, if you want to discuss about what we've just watched just not long ago, please jump on, as the link is in the chat. But while I'm waiting, I'll give it some time. I'm going to play Queen Afua's documentary that she has got coming out, which is well interesting. Whoa.
Sisters are helping each other to be more powerful, and they're giving them more grace, and they're showing them how to run their own businesses and companies, and how to write books, and how to overcome their relationship issues. And it's just that, I call it quilting, our purpose. And that purpose must be delivered. When we come to this world, we're delivered into this world, but we come with our purpose already in us. And if we don't live out our purpose, we're always sad, hurt, or wounded. A lot of times we're afraid. We've been, 20 years of chattel slavery. We've been stunted, our growth. But much connect from the ancestral realm says we can birth anything that we set our minds to. And so I'm seeing the women birthing and being ecstatic. So the women are cleaning, they're vegetarians, they're vegans, they're live foodists. But they're also culturally conscious, and the women are coming from different spiritual houses. They're Muslim sacred women, and Christian sacred women, and Buddhist sacred women, and Akan sacred women, and Yoruba sacred women, all from a root from the Nile Valley woman. And that root has branches. And those branches, if we feed the women, the branches will be vibrant. And every gateway just gives us the strength to now birth our purpose. If we see a sister, we all come together and we help her. We nurture each other. And or in sacred women, we also nurture our men. We want our men to be strong and able. We nurture our children. We nurture the elders. So it's a circle of love. So that's why I believe women are looking for their medicine, and they find their medicine in the gateways, and they're mystical women. They're enchanting women. A group of sisters asked her to come and bless the circle. She said, oh, like they said, black girl magic. Oh, you want some of that sacred woman magic. You know, that fabulousness and that peace and that joy and that colorful spirit and that loving being. They want that. The women want, and the men want. Everyone loves the sacred woman. I am Queen Afua, and I want to welcome you into the Sacred Woman series.
Ah, man, family, that was a powerful trailer for the documentary for Queen Afua. As you know, my name is Terry Riggs, Mr. Riggs in the house, and I'm one of the wellness warriors for Queen Afua and ambassador for Queen Afua. So, as you know, she has gone to Ghana to explore the regions of Ghana with her sacred sister, Queen Esther. So they are going to be doing their thing in Ghana. As I said, we're about building and building as we can do. At the end of the day, it's about a collective. And as I'm trying to do as many rites of passage, trying to be a collective of people. I don't care who you are, where you're coming from, as long as you've got black skin. That's all I'm about. So it's always about that black family first. So in saying that, I want people to go into our archives of Black Eyes TV once again, and understanding that we have got over 450 different videos on there. Please go and subscribe and log into a couple of them, one of the shows, and look at it and get the information, because it's just rife. So I'm just going to give you a taster, and if anybody wants to actually come on to the panel, please come on before I log off. So please come and say your say. You understand, domestic violence is not easy to talk about, but it's something that we need to protect our sisters once and for all. Man, as I was saying before, you know, that is what we've got in our archives. And, you know, it's that time where I'm asking, go in there, check out, you know, if you are in your forms of debate or you want to get an understanding. We've got so many topics within the Black Eyes TV 7. And I'm asking you, go into there, check it out, get your information, get an understanding, because we've had all the different types of scholars on a global tip, because we're international. We're not just people from America, not just people from Jamaica, not just people from Africa, Europe, the globe. So I'm asking you, go in there, check it out, you know, and make sure you subscribe to the Black Eyes TV 1, which is the Black Eyes TV 7. And then you've got the Black Eyes TV times 2 at 5 p.m. So make sure you log into that. But in saying that, we have the everyday, what we call the everyday panel where people can come and promote and advertise. And, you know, we need to able to have a better understanding why we've created a think tank channel where people can come every day, promote their products and services. Please go to the chat and you will find the link. Peace and blessings to my brother, EIE.
Well, go on, Mr. Riggs, where are you with?
Yes. Do you enjoy the show today?
Bridget, you want to see me miss 98% of it, Bridget. Me just wake up, man. As soon as we wake up, we write it, me turn the channel to it.
You know, this is, you know, don't worry. There's next week.
We catch the end. We catch the last part, you know, as usual.
Yeah, it's about protecting our women as much as possible.
Yes,
Cotton Socks.
Yes,
there is the link above for the everyday channel. So if you want to get onto the YouTube streets, there's the Black Family First link. Please go there, check it out whatsoever. Yes, back to you, my brother EIE.
Yeah, I never hear what you say the last part.
Oh, I just saying, yeah, it was about the domestic violence and the situation of our women being unsafe within the communities and the way that things are happening at this precise moment. Did you read the title? Please.
Things are right now.
How's everything? Lady Divine.
Shalom.
Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Yes.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh man. Yeah. We've got all the.
When I tell you, I have to go fight back. I have to go fight for you too, you know, Lady D. We can't lose you. We can't lose you, you know.
Okay.
We can't lose certain people on the team, but we can't lose you to know. Shalom.
Coming to Bible class tonight.
Okay, so we got at 5 o'clock. We've got the International Sister Circle on the Black Eyes TV times 2, and then hopefully probably this evening we'll have the open panel, and we can have the Bible studies, we can have the science studies, we can have the Hamite studies, we can have the Jerusalem studies.
No, we're gonna have Obia studies. We're gonna learn how to kill the chicken, drain the blood. We're gonna learn how to splash the blood. We're gonna do the chanting without do no shalom.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to be singing, drumming, and feeling the vibrations of our black people. So people, make sure you tune in later on this evening. It's going to be some fun, and you know, not everything
So
has
any
to be.
Hebrew we pray that little chicken, bro, don't come.
So let me just quickly play this advert. But before I play the advert, what was your opinion, Lady Divine, of today's show?
I'm not gonna lie, I've been doing too much. I missed a lot, so
I
need to get filled in. Yeah.
Okay, so we will discuss this later on this evening, and then we were able to go a bit more further. Yes, I can hear you, EIE. I think you need a new phone. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm gonna play an advert of.
Actually, I just bought this phone. I don't know why, man. I got good phone, good internet. I don't know.
You see when the brother comes back home to where he belongs, his phone will start working. Until then, this is his judgment.
So I'm going to play a quick advert on Talking with the Creatives on Black Eyes TV ×2, and then we're going to discuss a little bit more before we head out.
So I actually toured with him for 7 years and really got a chance to like dig in and
no one can deny that I've got the qualifications. Let me get this qualification.
Oh man, he just dropped out once again. Yeah, so Lady D, what's been happening on the YouTube streets? What's the discussions and what's been happening?
Oh, a lot's been happening. Oh man, we have to question now. We got to do a show dedicated to, you know, to the Israelites, because there's been claims and accusations that these black people running around here are not the true Hebrew Israelites. So it's getting interesting in these streets.
Okay, so we'll be chatting that on the Black Family First. Please check it out. We're going to be discussing and going through it, you know, and help you enjoy the whole show later on this evening. I'll probably try to start as early as possible after the International Sister Circle. But you know, I'm going to play a song which let me bring in Brother EIE. Brother EIE, can you hear us? It's like he can't hear us. I'm telling you, I think Lady Divine has put a spell on you.
I'm telling you, I juju him backside. Come home, brother.
Yes, family. But you know, I'm gonna go to. There was a song that was on Sister Nine's, which was a good tune. You know, she put up today. And because it's the last couple of days of the Women's Month, you know, I said, let me play this tune. I played it earlier on, but I'm going to play it again. So, Sister Nine's put this up, and, you know, we have to represent the women them. So, let me just quickly play that video.
Yeah, I saw this. It's nice.
Black is the color of my skin. Black is the life that I live. is my color. Yeah, yeah. Couldn't be any other. Oh, no, no, no. I said black is my color. Yeah, 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 yeah. Couldn't be any other. No, 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 no. It's the color of my eyes, and I've got no reason to disguise. I can still find in me for all of the words to say. That I just got to say, black is my color. Couldn't be any other. So black is my color. Couldn't be any other. Oh, in me for all of the world to see. And I just got to say, black is my color. Yeah. Couldn't be any other. Oh no. Black is my color. Yeah. Couldn't be any other. No. Black is my color, yeah. Couldn't be any other. No. You get it so from me. Oh, couldn't be any other. No. For the woman of this world, all the little girls, sisters of this world, the mothers of this world. For the woman in this world, all the little girls, the sisters of the world, the mothers of this world. For all to see. I must be.
Man, I hope you've enjoyed today, and it's been a fantastic day. As our brothers and sisters on the panel have anything last to say to the public?
Yeah, man, a big tune that.
Sister Nines, two's a good tune.
Bless up my sister from Africa, Lady D. I'm not losing you. I'm not losing you to no Hebrew,
it's Israel.
to nobody.
We have to
We're keeping our women in order.
Come home, brother. Come home. Come home.
100%, 100%. So, before I head out,
on a serious note, I need to thank Tazaria, because that I don't feed Africa, I don't feed African kids was a hell of a promotion for people knowing not to join the Hebrew Israelites. I need to thank Tazaria. When he said that, man, I don't think he realized the weight that that had. Most people didn't know their views before then. That was like a real serious moment for a lot of people. Trust me.
All
So
right.
thank you, Tazaria.
So we're gonna go behind the scenes. So as we close out the show, I'll play the advert and see us on Black Eyes TV ×2 at 5 p.m. GMT time. Make sure you log in. It's all for the sisters. And then around 7 o'clock, we're going to have a heated frequency discussion on Black Family First. So do not miss any of the channels. Make sure you log in on the chat box, and we will see you on the other side. Peace and blessings, family.
Kaba kaba.
One of these, it'll all be over. It'll all be over. And we won't have to cry no more. And we won't have to cry no more.